All right, so give me a few minutes. Let me broadcast this live and let me share it out to the group.
Okay.
All set to go.
Yep. This is probably not. I don't know if this will take up a whole hour tonight, but.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Let's see. All right, just share it out. Find it. That'd be awesome, right?
What's that?
I said if I could find it, that would be awesome.
That wouldn't hurt.
Share to a group. All right, so we're about to share out to the group. Hiring. All right. We're live on both broadcasts. All right. What's going on, guys? Whoever's out there watching.
My battery stopped.
You all right there?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry. my bad. My damn battery just stopped charging for some.
That's a funky little background that you got there. You said you use that in your videos?
What?
The projector? Well, your head's covering it now, but.
Shit, man. Okay.
All right, let's get started up here.
Now I can hear you big time, which is good.
All right, you hear me now?
It's coming through the wrong thing or something. So. Okay. All right, cool.
Okay. We got a few people on here. I'm sure more people will jump on. I'm about to send out the broadcast. But this is an interesting topic that we're going to cover. We're going to talk about hiring the right staff, how to make sure that you don't get somebody that is just going to waste your time and money, right? And you got some cool tools to share with us, which I've used in other businesses in the past. I haven't used it for my agency, so I'm curious to see how you apply these types of skills, these different tools to help you scale an agency. I mean, I've used it in the real estate business. I've used it in my other businesses. So definitely looking forward to the topic of conversation tonight. So go ahead and kick it off.
All right. Tell you what, give me 2 seconds here. Something crashed out here. I'm getting it. My damn laptop's giving me. I got a new laptop and I'm loving it, but it's been temperamental a little bit, just for damn sure. So, all righties here. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Here we go. All right. What we're going to do tonight is well, at my first agency, we kind of got trained on a 7-step process from a leadership training that we went to, and it was a really kick-ass. Actually, it's more like, I think that one was more like 9 steps, and we drilled it down and we fine-tuned it perfectly for digital agencies. And so after I left that, they still use it, but after I left that agency, I actually wound up taking it and kind of go to the next level with it, and took all those things that we learned over there, and we created all these different tools. And so we have, I think it's about 9 or 10 different tools, and it's kind of neat, and because all of them are unique and custom to digital agencies. So what that means is this: is you have to be able to hire people in the digital agency space, but you can't be super rigid about certain things because it's a very creative space. And so you have to give the skill of, like, for example, in the skill assessment phase, you know, a lot of times when you're determining skill assessments in other industries, it's pretty rigid. You know, you kind of, can you hammer in a nail or not? It's, it's black and white, right? But in the creative space, you got to be able to kind of give them task and see if they can actually think on their feet and come up with creative solutions and figure out a good way to find out if these people are fucking idiots or not, basically. Okay. I mean, whether or not they can really think out of the box and problem solve, because, every day the industry is changing in a dramatic fashion, and it's hard to keep up. And so you have to have people who are really, really sharp, really love what you do, and they're really working towards like a higher purpose, and really kind of die on the hill. Every single night, not every night, but they at least one or two. They love learning about digital marketing. So do they go home at night and study that stuff, and so they're prepared for the next day and all that fun stuff. So what we're going to go through tonight is our 7-step process on hiring just kick-ass candidates, on how to go about getting the right people, because that was by far my number one key to success over there. Is I hired people smarter than me, and I hired people who bought into the vision, and I also didn't hire people who were just money hungry, right? And so I hired people who wanted to really come in and learn and actually make a difference and improve the agency kind of environment out there. And so that's what we did. And so what we're going to do tonight is I'm going to kind of tell you guys the 7 steps. And I'll tell you those 7 steps here in a second, and then we're going to go through each one of those 7 steps. And we only have about 50 minutes left or so. And so I'm not going to get time. I'm not going to have time to go through obviously all of the details of this, but I'll give you the top 3 or 4 things out of each 7 steps. And if you're out there, take these notes, and if you're just now watching this video on a replay or something like that, get a scratch pad out, because I'm going to go pretty quick. As everybody knows, I talk pretty quick, so I'm going to get a lot of information out pretty quick. So, but it's good information. So get your pens and pencils or record screen or whatever the hell you're going to do, and that's what I'm doing right now, screen recording. So, and so get this and throw it into a vlog or something down the road. But okay, so let's go through those 7 steps. All right, so like I said, it all starts with back-end preparation. All right, and so in your back-end preparation, there are 3 things that you're going to need to take into consideration when you're doing that. That's step number 1, back-end preparation. Step number 2 is actually talent scouting. It's hard to get. I mean, there's a lot of people going after really qualified digital agency people, and luckily now colleges are actually starting to train around digital marketing and actually get some of the skills coming out of college. But man, I'll tell you right now, 10, 12 years ago, that was not the case, man. I mean, they didn't even know what digital marketing was, man. They had no clue. They were still trying to figure out what a website was. I'm talking about it. And now, granted, websites had been out for 15 years at that point, but universities, man, they don't move real quick. They take their time. They're not the most agile things in the world, right? So the second one is talent scouting. How do you go about finding the right talent out of all of these people nowadays? I mean, we got the snowflake generation, no offense to anybody out there, coming down the pipe, and man, they get their feelings hurt pretty quick. I'm gonna tell you right now, when you're working in a digital agency world, it's a lot of fun. The culture in these kind of environments are amazing. And if I was growing up, that's where I'd want to work. But man, it can get pretty stressful too, so you gotta, as balls as you can, as man, you gotta have pretty thick, you better man up, you know what I'm saying? You better have some thick skin and be able to kind of handle it. If not, you got to know that. And so you got to be able to get in there and screen them. So part number 3 is screening. How do you determine whether or not they even have the skills? So you got to have a skill set assessment. By the way, we're going to give away a little micro workbook tonight around skill set assessment. So it's kind of it's a 3-pager, short quick little read. That kind of gives you the 6 different things you can do to get out there and make sure that they have the right skills that you need. And it's a pretty cool little thing. We'll go through that here in a second. And part number 4 is actually, and we call this, we have a funny little name for this. This is like, do you have your teeth in a pulse phase? And it's called the preliminary phone interview, because, it's unbelievable what you can find out in about a 2 to 3 minute phone call. And you pick up the phone and, she picks up the phone and the husband's back in the background saying, "Hey, man, could be, screaming and cussing," or he picks up the phone and she's it's just like, okay, wait a second, if you've got that kind of work environment, you obviously don't hold yourself at too high, I didn't hear you, but what's that?
What are the clients going to hear if you're handling account management, right?
Well, and not only that, but if that's your expectation level of high quality, then we probably aren't on the same page. You know what I mean? We probably, my level of expectation is going to be here. This is what I consider excellence, and your level of excellence is right here. We got a problem, okay? We're gonna have a fundamental problem. And so it's funny, I'm dead serious, man. You can get on the phone for 2 to 3 minutes and ask really simple questions like, can you breathe? And you'll get, it weeds out a bunch of idiots. And so, and that's what I call like we said, it's called the preliminary phone interview. That's part number 4, step number 4. Part number 5 is going to be the assessments. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead. Part number 3 was screening. You got to screen them out. And so that part number 5 is actually the assessments. And I'm going to go through all these again. So if you don't have them all right now, we're going to go through all
Yeah,
this.
we'll list them out in a little bit.
Huh?
we'll list them out and go over.
Yeah, here, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll copy and paste these into the messenger, and balls, if you want to, go ahead and throw these in the.
I'll throw them in the chat.
All right, let me put that in there. All righty. Okay, and give me 1 second here. All right, and so number 5 is basically like the assessment. And this is where you get into what's called the personality assessment. And so there are different types of personalities. And so some people are very detail oriented. So if you're hiring for like an office manager or an account, like a controller or whatever the hell it is, I mean, you got to be able to kind of get out there and know if these people are extremely detail oriented, because that's what you're hiring for, right? And now if you need somebody that's more creative thinking, okay, then you need somebody who's a different type of personality. If you're hiring somebody for sales, they better be an alpha aggressive, and they better be able to hear the word no about 400 times a day, hear the word yes, 2 or 3 times a week. It's kind of like being married, you know what I'm talking about? And then all of a sudden you feel like you're the rock star, okay? So, you better have thick skin. And so you got to learn how to kind of get through those different personality assessments, and the same thing with the skill set assessments. And all of those things are very, very, very important. And so we give you both those in this, and tonight we're going to give you kind of both how to go about doing that, what's called the colors personality assessment. Part 6 is the actual face-to-face, and we've got some really, really fun little tricks on this one. So, for example, just a little teaser here like that. In the face-to-face interview, we've got about 4 or 5 things to be doing. One of them is at the very last second. I mean, they got to get up and do a presentation in front of us, okay? And so we give them the questions that they have to do a presentation in front of us, right? And so, I'll tell you what I sent. I thought I sent it to you. I sent it to the wrong person. Let me send that to you. So I got somebody else wondering, like, hey, what the hell is this he just sent to me? That's pretty funny. So, okay, there you go, boss. My bad. All right. So, anyway, all right. So, so part 6 is the face-to-face, and so at the very last second when they're up there doing the presentation, we'll pull out a full camera, like a DSLR with a full mic and all kinds of stuff, and even set up a lights and say, hey, we're going to record this, and it's actually going to be streamed live on Facebook.
It's streaming live on Facebook.
What's that?
Streaming live.
Yeah, no. I'm talking about during the interview. When we're face-to-face interview, we'll tell them that we're going to record it. Okay, and we're gonna record this, and and at the last second they're like, oh shit, like they were not prepared at all for that, and so it catches them off guard, and so you got to be able to catch them off guard. We'll call their cell phone right in the middle of the interview. We'll have somebody sitting right next to us, call their cell phone, and then all of a sudden in the middle of the interview, I'll get up and start writing real fast, writing notes. And so all you're trying to do is make them nervous and get them off guard and see how they handle and how well they prepared. Do they actually check their phone? You know what I'm talking about? Do they freak out because the camera's there? You got to know these kind of things. And so we got all these cool little tricks that we go through to do it. And then part 7 is going to be the actual what's called offer letter and intern status. Okay, so let me kind of go through those again because I pretty much butchered going through those 7 steps. So part 1, back end preparation. Part 2, talent scouting. Part 3, screening. Okay, part 4 is preliminary phone interview. Part 5 is assessments. Part 6, face-to-face, the face-to-face interview. And part 7 is offer letter and intern status. Okay, so let's get started into those 7 steps. And part 1 is going to be what's called the back-end preparation. And so there's 3 primary parts to that. And the very first part of that's going to be what's called your job description. All right. And the job description is something that a lot of people very much underestimate the value of. And so if you take the time up front and you actually prepare a detailed job description and you write it you actually kind of take the analytical hat off and you get very creative with it. And so a good example is obviously you got to get in there. You got to get the job title, position types, the purpose, the skill sets. You got to have the basics. And we have, and by the way, in the agency blueprint, we have every single thing that I talk about in this entire 7-step process. We give you full detailed templates on all of this stuff in the agency blueprint, which is going to be launching here in a few weeks. I'm super excited about that, man. And so in the job description, we actually the best performing job description we ever did. There was one line put in there that hooked so many people. We said our office environment is a cross between Seinfeld and The Office. right? Which is not something you would typically put. And it's true, by the way. Our office is kind of, it's very much, it's a comedy, it's a very productive, but it's fun. You know, it's just a fun environment. And we got more responses to that. And so we use it in every damn job description letter now, because when we put that out into the next phase is where we're going out there and trying to get, you know, talent, right? When you got to remember, you're just trying to hook as many as you can. It's kind of like a lead magnet, man. You just want to get as many people as you possibly can to opt in, basically, because the rest of the process is intended to screen them and get rid of them. But you got to have a big pool to pick the best of the best out of, right? Makes sense. And a lot of people are trying to get so fine tuned in their job description, they're so perfect in writing everything in, and when people are reading it, they're like, "Oh, in the fucking sleep," you know. It's like, "Oh my god, I can't. This is so boring. There's no way I could work for these people. I'm falling asleep reading the damn job description. This is so boring, right?" So make it exciting, you know, make it fun. Give them a little spice of life. Give them kind of what what they're going to be doing around the office, and kind of keep it simple. But let them know the cool parts about it, you know, the benefits, and you know, they're applying for the job, so they're looking for stability, and they're looking for money. And so, you know, don't forget the basic psychology around this thing. So tell them about, you know, basic salaries in there. Make sure that that's in there. A lot of people have a tendency to leave that out. No, don't. That's a big mistake. Do not leave that out. Put that in there. Are you going to offer benefits? You got to be upfront and candid, 100% open and honest and transparent in this thing, but make it fun as well. Okay, so give it a little bit of a spin. And, you know, for example, and I'll get into this in a little second, what we call the intern status. And so we always, no matter what, when we hire someone, they come on for a 90-day intern status. And I'll explain why that's so important here in a little bit, but it'll weed out all the people who think that their shit doesn't stink and think they should make all this money. And so they come in literally working for peanuts. Matter of fact, most of them, a lot of them coming out of college work for free for the first 30 days. And then they work for peanuts for the next 60 days to prove that they're worthy to work for my, at that time, agency, and now coaching business, right? And so, you know, add all that stuff in your job description. And again, we have full templates and stuff around this, but there are some out there on the web, and you can go download them. But think it through, and think through your job description about when you're writing that out. Okay. Now, another one is going to be what's called hold on a second here. Is going to be your hiring team. And this is a big mistake people make too, is we kind of all get in a rush, you know, and people are just like, "Oh, that guy looks good," or "This is a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend," or, you know, whatever the hell it is. And that's honestly how it works. You know, "Oh, I know this guy. I met him at church, or I met him at wherever the hell you met him. And so he's a nice guy and I'm going to hire him." Well, you're the idiot in the room if you do that. Okay. So, I mean, you know, don't do that. Okay. So, as a matter of fact, it's never a good idea to hire people you know. I'm just going to tell you that right now, because you get too much of emotion, personal, friendship, family, emotion. Okay. But and what helps you eliminate that is what you do is you put what's called a hiring team in place. So you get 2 or 3 tough, trusted people around you, and they review all the final candidates. Okay. And now, again, you don't need to bog the hiring team down with like the preliminary phone interview and, you know, all the BS. But whenever you get down to that final 3 to 5 like top tier candidates, you know, that hiring team needs to come in. They need to review all the resumes. They need to be a part of the face-to-face interviews. They need to review all the skill set assessments, the personality assessments, and they all kind of grade. And we have what's called an interview rubric, where you grade the candidates on all these different things, and they all come together. They grade them individually, and then they all come together and they compare their grades. And it's funny, out of the 5, you know, 2 of them will be completely off the wall, right? The other 3 will line up, and then whenever you discuss it, it all comes to come together. And next thing you know, it's going to be pretty glaringly obvious who's going to be the best candidate. Because a lot of times when you get down to those final 3, they're all good. You know, they're all great candidates. You know, they all excelled in college, or they excelled whatever the hell, you know, whatever, somehow, some way they stood out, right? And so now you got to get down into the details. And that's why that hiring team is such a big deal. Is having someone there for you to kind of act as a sounding board to run those ideas off of, and have good feedback on that whole thing. And it's also very important to understand that this 7-step process, the whole point behind this, okay, it's important to note that basically every single step in this process is designed to eliminate future bad employees, not just how to hire the great ones. Think about that, okay? It's because people are going to lie, man. People will lie, and lie again to get a job. They're desperate. I mean, it's just, they will, and not maliciously. They're not. They have the best. They have the best intentions in the world. They plan on coming in there and working, but they're in a desperate spot for a damn reason. Okay, and so The whole process is designed to eliminate future bad employees after you hook them and you get a big pool of candidates. Then you start the process of elimination and you eliminate down until you get to just the top tier ones. Okay. So what that means is a good example of how we do this is we'll go out there and we will get 40 or 50 candidates and that we like, and I'll show you how you can hand pick your candidates. We'll send them private messages and we'll give them all of them 24 hours. The ones who do not respond in 24 hours are eliminated immediately. So that whittles it down about half right there, because we're looking for people who are responsive, on point. Are you seriously looking for a job, or are you just throwing shit up against the wall? If you're just throwing shit up against the wall, you'll check it once a week. We want somebody who's ready to dive in, hungry, and ready to go right then. Okay, and so all of these things come in. I hope everybody's taking notes out there, because this is, all this stuff comes in big time right there. So number 2 is going to be what's called your talent scouting. Okay, so you've got the back end work done now. Okay, so you've got the job description done. You've got your hiring team in place. And another part of the back end description that I want to make sure everybody understands is that you hire and fire to what's called your company vision. Now, a lot of you out there might not have an agency vision right now, okay? But even if you don't, write down 4 or 5 core values that your agency lives by, and hire and fire to those, because those are core values that you can't break. And again, as your agency grows, you're going to have to get a vision statement in place, and you will need to hire and fire to that. That's a very, very big deal. Okay, so now part 2 is going to be what's called the talent scouting. So you got to be able to get out there and find good talent, right? And so how do you go about doing that? And so, obviously the internet's a big deal, and then you can go to your nearby universities. That's a pretty big deal. And you can ask your current employees. All 3 of those are legitimate choices, and all 3 of those are actually probably, the best choices out of that. And so, but we found a way that you can actually go out there and get not unlimited, but pretty close to unlimited amount of candidates for $1 each candidate. So you can spend $50 and find 50 candidates. And out of those 50 candidates that you send the private messages to, you'll probably get 30 or 40 of them that respond within the 24 hours. Out of that 30 or 40, you do the preliminary phone interview, you whittle it down to 10, then you get down to 5, and you're process of elimination. So let me kind of dive off into this. Obviously, the internet's going to be your powerhouse when it comes to looking for jobs. Monster, Career Builder, get Glassdoor, Indeed, Craigslist, and put it out on all of them. You know what I'm talking about? But the one that by far, heads and shoulders, dominates in our world is called Indeed. Okay, and so what you do is, and this is a little nugget. This is a little what we call around here we call these handyman hookups. And so these are handyman hookups for all agency owners. These are little nuggets that I learned over the past 14 years that are just like, it took me forever to figure them out, but once we figured them out, man, these are the golden little nuggets. And so Indeed has the ability to go out there and you can search without them knowing all the candidates that you want, which is, in other words, it kind of flips the whole process on its head. So typically you're out there begging for people to come in, right? So now you reverse that process when you go out there and you find the 50, 60, 80, 100, whatever you want, candidates you want, and then you can send for $1, send them a private message. Okay. And then you wait on those responses, and out of those responses, out of the last one, and the last two rounds I went on hiring, we did this, and I spent, I think, $50 for each time. Both times we got about 35 responses within 24 hours, and both times it ultimately ended up with me hiring to academic scholarship, president's dean's list from 2 different universities. Both of them majored in sales and marketing, and business management, I think it was. And so long story short is they're both badasses. They're both unbelievably highly qualified and skilled. Got them for very good prices. One of them went through the 90-day intern process. The other one didn't, but there's a long story on that one. But and so it's awesome. They worked exactly like the way that I'm telling you to do it. And it all starts with that Indeed. So you go out there and hook a lot of people. That is really, really awesome. So, and the nearby universities, one of the things that we did a long time is I befriended the professors that taught the stuff that we needed. So if it's marketing, or if it's, programming, like on how to do custom coding in WordPress or whatever it is, we got to know the professors that taught all the students. And so at the end of every semester, I'd shoot them an email and say, hey, yo, man, you got what's your top tier candidates? They're like, oh, wait, hold on a second. I'll send an intro email out to the top 4 or 5 people I think. So now they're putting their name on the line. They're getting the all academics rock stars, and the professors giving them an endorsement. And so by the time, they're already vetted. I mean, they're already top tier people, right? And so now we'd get all kind of candidates that way. We'd go hand out postcards in the common areas, the mess hall, mess halls, and we have a military university, but in the commons or whatever you want to call it, and so just all, just hand out things, and then you can also have the little job boards in each one of the schools. Like, in each school, you use a big building, they have job boards. And so you go up there, and every I don't know, every month or two, you can put up a postcard, and you'll get candidates that way. So it all works out really, really well. And again, asking current employees is a great way to get referrals and get people in there, but make sure you send them through the hiring process, the 7-step hiring process. Do not hire them because their friend said they were a nice person or whatever. Don't feel guilty. Don't feel empathy. Don't feel any of that shit, okay? Because it's going to cost you a fortune down the road. Send them through the hiring process, and it's a big, big deal. So another little thing called handyman hookup is for, especially for digital agencies. We found that hiring recently college graduates, okay, and people kind of ready to make an industry change, people that were like plumbers, they're 30, 35 and been doing electrical work and crawling up under houses, and they're like, fuck this, I don't want to be in this anymore. I'm ready to get into something where I can better myself and work inside and not kill myself in that heat all day. Those two things. And so straight out of college, people that didn't have bad habits already, or people that were in another industry just transitioning into the digital marketing space. And that's happening a lot. So both of those are really big resource pools. And the reason I say that is because they're both really hungry. They're both ready to be sculpted and molded into exactly what your agency needs. And they are 100% willing to do a 90-day internship program. And I keep coming back to that 90-day internship program because it's a big deal. People, like I said, people lie, man, and they can put up a good wall. They can put up a bunch of bullshit for about 30, 45, 60 days. But I promise you, without fail, around that 60-day mark, their true personality and their true skill sets are going to start to shine on through. You're going to see the true whoever the hell it is you got in your office. And you're going to know. You will be able to make a decision around that 75-day mark, almost without fail, whether or not these people are a good fit for your culture. They have the skill sets. They're willing to learn. They're willing to roll up the sleeves. You can put them on the phone. They have their teeth. So all these things you can determine really, really quick. And so, especially in the digital agency space, you're not hiring, MBAs, and you're not hiring all these people that are coming out of college expecting to make $75,000 a year. A lot of times you're hiring someone that's really just hungry, and they roll up the sleeves, and they just ready to learn. And so it's good to determine that. And that 90-day internship program is the way to go about doing that. Okay. Part 3 is screening. And this is an interesting, an interesting little way to go about it. Social media, man, be careful what you put on social media is all I got to say. I mean, that's just it, because guys like me, we go out there, and I wish I'm not sharing my screen, but if I was sharing my screen, I'd actually show you. We actually have a social media screening like checklist, and so it's got a red flags, and then it's got green flags, and so for example, evidence of alcohol, excessive alcohol use, okay, excessive drug use, negative comments by current employers, yeah, don't do it. Like, that's just stupid. Don't be an it, because damn good and well, if they're out there throwing their current employer under the bus, what the fuck are they going to do to you when they get mad at you? What are they going to do? I mean, are you that? I mean, don't be naive. That's what they're going to do. Just bad language all the time out there. That's just a lack of respect for the social sphere out there. Lying about qualification, poor grammar, poor spelling, and so we check all of that stuff. So we go through all of that stuff and check it out. And, and so be careful. Like I said, be careful. I know that everybody's throwing shit out there on social media like it ain't no thing but a chicken wing. But I'm going to tell you right now, guys like me, the ones that were running the big agencies and looking to hire with benefits and award-winning cultures and the kind of places you want to work, in other words, we're out there and we got checklists and we got screening, and we're screening all that stuff in great detail. So pay attention to that stuff as you go through it. Okay. So, all right. So that's one thing you got to pay attention to. And then another one is the other part of the screening process is that 2-minute phone call. And you need to keep this pretty simple. A lot of people overthink the actual they try to get on the phone and they're just dramatically overthinking the phone screening call. And it really is, it's more like, why does this position interest you? And then listen to what's going on in the background and listen to, can they formulate a clear sentence? That kind of thing. Why do you think you're a good fit based on your knowledge of the role so far? And it's really, really simple. The truth of the matter is, you're calling to see if they pick up the phone. If they don't pick up the phone, how long does it take for them to call you back? Are they responsive? Do they speak clearly? Are they smiling into the phone? Everybody says it's an old sales saying, but it's true. And you can feel whether or not they're actually smiling into the phone or not, and whether they're energetic and they're positive. And so all of these things, the social media things. And so when people don't respond to the private messaging, you'll eliminate 10 or 12 there. Social media, you'll eliminate another 10 to 12 there. Initial preliminary phone interview, you'll eliminate another 10 to 12 there. Now you're down to like a top 10 or a top 15, right? And those people are the ones that are, they're probably higher qualified. They're ready to kind of get out there, and do it up. They're ready kind of to dive off into it. So out of the remaining, let's say you got 10 to 15 left, okay? This is when you get into the assessment parts, okay? And so you get into what's called the personality assessment. And we actually created here. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Hold on a second.
This is the giveaway, right?
What's that?
This is the giveaway?
No, this is not the giveaway. I'm just going to show here. Let's see here. So there is. That's the social media screening checklist right there. And then we also have 100 interview questions. So we got all kind of shit in these tools. They're really, really cool. But so we have what's called the interview rubric. I was telling you that a while ago. But then we also have what's called the agency colors personality assessment. Okay. And so they have different colors. And so they have green, gray, navy, and red. And each one means different things. And they tell you exactly what their personalities are going to be about. Okay. And so they have an actual test that they go through. So they have to come in here and they have to score all these things. And there's actually a full-blown test that people go through. And at the end of it, what happens is the exact type of personality that they have.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And super powerful. It's just not to interrupt, but I've run these types of assessments when you're looking to hire certain positions. Like if you're looking to hire for sales, if you're looking to hire for, someone to be a coordinator for certain projects or whatever it is, those assessments will tell you right off the bat, if you're looking to hire for sales, that color code, if it's not matching up to the skills you need, you know that they're not a right fit regardless of what they say.
Yeah. Well, and everybody. Okay. So they're just, again, I don't want to, segue too much here, but you basically have multiple personalities. I know that's, I don't mean that we're all bipolar. What I'm saying is that you have your home personality, like your personal, like, your family personality. Then you have your work personality. Okay. All right. And then you have your social personality, and you act differently in all three of those environments. But at your core, there is a core personality trait. You are either very, very detail oriented. So you're the type of person that have checklists. And at the end of the day, if you have not checked everything off your list, you have a little bit of anxiety. You got to check the damn box. It freaks you out. It freaks you out if you can't check that damn box. Okay. Then you got what's called the blue people, and they're highly emotional. They get attached to everything. Okay, if they have a Yeti cup with some Coke in it, by the time they're done with that, they're going to love the Coke, and this is awesome. It made me feel so good. I love it. Okay, and then you have the more engineering type. That's the real analytical, deep thinkers that want to know all the details, and more importantly, they want to know why. They don't just follow orders. Like the detail people, they're going to check the list, right? So they're just going to, you give them a list of stuff to do, and they knock it out, no questions asked. The engineers are going to be like, well, I don't think this list is properly vetted through, and I want to add this to it, and I want to add this to it, and I don't think you're smart enough to know this because I'm an engineer and I'm smarter than you. Type of mentality, okay? And it's just the way that their personality is. They're not trying to be condescending, although they do have a tendency sometimes to come across as condescending, not on purpose. It's just the way that they are. And then there are my personality types, of which is called, it's an aggressive personality type. Is more good for, like, typically they're entrepreneurs. They're like vice presidents, like that. They either end up in jail or they're successful in business. And so they're just like, they're extroverts. They're not introverts. The other ones, the other three personality types have a tendency to be a little more introvert. My personality type is you go out and you have a tendency to be like the life of the party. You're kind of like, hey, what's up? You want to talk to everybody. And so all these different personalities, that's your core personality trait. And that's the cornerstone for all your individual personality, your social, your family, and your business. So the sooner you can get to the cornerstone personality, that core, that's ultimately what they're going to turn into in your office. Makes sense, right? That's what these do. These personality assessments get to that core super fast. And if that core does not align with what you have to get done, then you don't hire. It might work for 30, 60, 90, even a 6 months, but eventually the wheels are going to come off of it because they're not happy. It's not what they do naturally. They hate details. They were desperate for a job and lied to get into the damn job. They needed to feed the babies or whatever the hell it was. Okay, so you get into these personality assessments and they're unbelievably powerful. And we actually created this one. We based it on one that exists, and we took that model and we actually kind of modified it 100%, modified it a lot actually for specifically for hiring for agencies. And so this actually gets into the specific questions around agency and hiring for agencies and all these different things. And so it's a really cool little thing. And at the end of it, you actually give them a grade on what type of personality they are, and then you take that and you put it in their file. And so once again, you're eliminating all the bad candidates. And at this point, they're really not bad candidates. You eliminated the idiots in the first few rounds. You know what I'm talking about? The phone, the social media, they're cussing their previous employers, and they can't carry a conversation on the phone. You kind of eliminated all the bad candidates already. Now you got down to that top 10 or 15. And now it's just kind of eliminating down to the excellence, the one that is absolutely dialed in to what your agency needs at that time and believes in your agency's purpose and why you're in business. And so not only do you do this personality assessment, you also do what's called a skill set assessment. And go ahead, and if you got that, then go ahead and throw that into the the chat there. And I will also pull it up on my screen here. Let me pull it up over here. All right, let me see here. All right, so right here, everybody should see. Tell me if you can't see that ball.
Yeah, I can see it. For some reason, it's like gray. It's like darker.
Oh, well, actually, you know what? That here. Let me see. Let me share this other screen over here. All right, so that's because I am recording here. Hold on. Hell, man. Technical difficulties here. All right, that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, so what we have here is we have an agency hiring skill set assessment test. And so this is a little workbook that we put together. It's real simple, 3 pages, okay? And basically in this workbook, it's called a micro workbook. We ought to call it like a micro book, come up with a fun little name for it. We give you 6 different tasks that you can use to test your candidates. And they're all very different, and if none of them fit your agency specifically, that's perfectly fine because they're intended to basically give you a good examples for you to kind of think through, how to go about doing this. The goal is to find out if they are an elite candidate, right? Not if they have the basic skills. So in other words, this skill assessment test is not to find out if they can breathe. It's to find out if they can run a marathon. Find out if they're the best at what they do, not just whether or not they can do the basics. So whenever you're putting these skill assessments together, a lot of the times it's a good idea to make it to where the actual task is impossible to finish. Just to test out their creative problem solving and ability to handle pressure. Right? I mean, think about it, so you give them a test. And so look here, watch this. Okay, so here is ask them to convert a PSD into a responsive driven user interface in the WordPress platform. There's not a snowball's chance in hell anyone in this world can take a PSD with any complex elements in it at all and convert that into a WordPress theme in 2 hours, fully responsive for all devices. Not gonna happen. By the way, if they do it, they're a fucking savant. Hire them on the spot. like immediately, and pay them whatever the hell they want. I don't care, because it's not going to happen. Okay, so point being but find out how, hey, listen, okay, so I got this, and did they do it smart? So they broke all the proper way to do it is to break every single element in that PSD down into its own individual object, and then you call it in through the CSS, you call it in through the WordPress. That's the way you're supposed to do it. That takes time, man. The reason you got to do everything as an individual object is because when you do it responsive, then the responsive theme can actually automatically resize it and put it up and down. If you try to take big images and put them in there, it's not going to work. It's going to look like crap. But let's see if they cut corners. And you know that when you're interviewing, they're not going to be able to finish this task. You know this. But did they cut corners, or did they find a creative way to get all of those objects out and then sliced up, transparent backgrounds with the CSS background? How far did they make it, right, under pressure? And so it's a great way to kind of test them out. And so basically, whenever you get done with the personality assessment, then you give them, like a skill set assessment. And so here are 6 different little things that we did, but you need to come up with them. You give them 2 hours to write 10 to 12 ads for a mock client and do the creatives. Again, if you're writing good ads, it's going to take a lot more than if you're doing it right. If you're doing it right. Now, anybody can just throw out crap in a matter of 2 hours, that's for sure. But to design actually the creatives, come up with the right ads, all the different sizes. You remember, when you're doing this, you got to have them, there's multiple sizes. You got to have there'll be 20 different sizes you got to have for these ads. And so give them 2 hours to mind map and craft emails to address several hypothetical scenarios. And don't give them any information at all on the target audience. They should be able to figure out, do their own damn target audience research. So do you see how by sending them through this, these are just about impossible tasks, but you see their creative thinking and problem solving. And ultimately, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for people who are highly skilled, have the right personality, and that can solve some problems in a creative, fun, not creative, productive kind of way. Okay. And so that's what this whole workbook, the micro workbook does, is it kind of goes through and it helps you kind of do that. You got to grade them. Okay. And figure out what it is. And then there are also just additional testing options. So what we do is we like to get in here and actually give them, a lot of people are good and they perform under pressure, but they can't spell their own damn name. So you give them an online, and by the way, I'm one of those people. I suck at spelling. Okay. So I would fail this part. Okay. So, and so you actually get them to do an online educational assessment. So you break it up into two different types of assessments, and you can get very creative with this. And this little micro workbook gives you a lot of good ideas, and it's a wonderful, wonderful little tool whenever you're trying to, figure out how to do these skill assessments. And so whenever you do the personality assessment and the skill assessment, by the time you have put them through by the time you weed it out and then you found just the right candidates you wanted through being able to kind of flip flop that whole process instead of begging for people, you're out there finding the right people on Indeed and bringing them in for $1, super cheap, right? And then you go through the screening process. That's going to be the social media and the 2-minute phone call. I'm sorry, social media screening, 2-minute kind of preliminary phone interview. Do they have their teeth and can breathe? Kind of phone call, and then you do the personality assessment, skill assessment, and then after that you get into what's called the face-to-face interview. And this is the one where we have a good time to this. By the time you've gotten to this point, okay, you've whittled it down. It's typically down to the top 5, okay, and the top 5 is whenever you get into that face-to-face interview, and we've got so many. I always get a kick out of this one because we love this. This is probably our favorite. This is probably our favorite part of it. We get to act like kids to a certain degree. So we literally schedule every single interview at the exact same time. They all show up at the exact same time, and they all have to sit in the room staring at each other while the other one is doing the interview. Okay? So they're all sitting in a room knowing that the other 4 people in the room are all going for their deal. How do they handle that pressure? Then we, and I showed the interview rubric a while ago, how do they dress? Right? Okay? In other words, I'm all about casual work environment, but you better not come to an interview all casual, but you better be rocking it. You better be on point, P's and Q's. You better be top notch. I want to see your best of the best. Okay. And then we get them in there. And like I said, we actually, like I said, we dial their cell phone in the middle of the interview, like right dead square in the middle of the interview. And then we on purpose schedule 2 or 3 times. We'll give them, all of them have the same exact thing as 4 or 5 questions, and they have to do a 7 to 10 minute presentation, stand up in front of 4 people, 3 or 4 people, which freaks the hell out of that. The number one fear, even over being eaten by a shark, is public speaking. So we find out, can they handle that? In the middle of doing that, we call their cell phone. Right before they get started, we pull out the interview Rubik's card. It's a big card like this big. It's got all these squares and places for it to write. We're check marking and writing. And they're like, fuck, man, what the hell's going on? Pull out the camera. We're recording them. So we're recording them. All at the last second. Okay, they're in there staring down all their competitors. They're already nervous. They're sweating. They come in here. We ask them a few funny questions. We lighten them up a little bit, and then all of a sudden it gets really tense. Pull the camera out from behind the little thing. Turn it on. We're going to record this. Is that okay? Yeah. Shit, man, you're going to record this? Yeah, okay. And then we get going. We're all sitting there grading. We call them, okay, and we go through this whole rigmarole, this whole process. And by the time it's over with, man, and we have never been through this 7-step process and not 100%, beyond a shadow of a doubt, knew the exact person we needed to hire. It came down every single time to, like, this person dominated for this position. And again, it's not that person is smarter or better or anything else, it's not that they're smarter or more talented or better looking or any of the other candidates. They're just more perfectly fit for your agency. They fit exactly what you need them to do. Their personality lines up. They handle pressure. They can handle public speaking. They planned ahead. They prepared, because again, we grade them on their presentation. When they're doing a presentation, do they have notes on their hand? Do they have 3? They come in, man, they'll come in. Dude, I've seen them with everything. They've memorized it. They have PowerPoint presentations. They're like, hey, can you put this up on your laptop? I'm like, I hope you put it on Google Drive, because I'm not plugging shit into my laptop. Oh, yeah, I put it on Google Drive. Boom. Kick ass, man. Hey, you're a rock star. They'll have 3x5 postcards. Okay. I've seen them have flip, like an actual, like something like this. They'll have a formal presentation. They'll take it and they'll hand all 3 of us one. I'm like, hey, impressed. And then they'll get into their deal, and they'll go through it. I'm like, well, shit, you should have memorized it, but still, that's good. You prepared. So how did they prepare, right? So based upon their actions, this whole process monitors their actions 100%, of which is why it's so important in the actual intern process. I don't know if this is going to be news to everybody out there like that, but when somebody wants something, and again, if this is shocking news to anyone, let me know, okay? The biggest lies we tell are the ones we tell to ourselves, of which I'm sure you've all heard. And so whenever you really want a job, you can literally convince yourself that you can run through a fucking brick wall. You legitimately can convince yourself that you can learn and do anything as long as you can get the damn job. So, unfortunately, and here's the big shocker, you can't trust a damn thing that comes out of anybody's mouths nowadays. We have all become so unbelievably skilled at lying. It's remarkable. Everybody, they lie. I'm talking about lie. But there is one thing, no matter what, without fail, they cannot cover up and they cannot lie. And that's their actions. Nobody's ever going to take actions to damage themselves. Survival. They can't do it. It goes against all instincts. They will not take actions to damage themselves, correct? So this entire process judges them and monitors and scores them based upon their actions. Hence, why you see if it takes them more than 24 hours to respond to the private messaging. Hence, whenever you call them surprise on the phone and you hear somebody cussing in the background or a baby screaming or like, hey, give me another beer, or you hear all these things. Hence, why you turn the heat up big time whenever you're actually in the physical interview. You put the camera on, you're calling, you're doing everything. You put them in front of all their competitors. You can't fake that stuff. You're not gonna be able to fake that stuff. So they make it through that, they're top tier. And then just to make sure you didn't get the actual sociopath that can lie that well, okay, you put them through a 90-day intern process. and monitor their actions again for the next 90 days. Without fail, you will come out with a top tier candidate that will die on the hill for your agency and believes 100% in what you're doing. And here's an ironic twist to this whole thing. The more you make them jump through hoops, the more they respect your agency.
That makes sense.
It's a rite of passage. They're like, holy shit. And they know that everybody in the damn agency had to do the same bullshit. Dude, we made it. Can you believe we made it? Oh my God, we made it. We made it. And there's a whole other thing that after the 90 days, we used to have like another rite of passage, and it was, I'm not going to get into it, but we used to make them eat something extremely gross. Right? And they had to do it in front of everybody. They're standing up in front of 40 something plus people, and it's a liquid, and so we'd drop it on their hand like that, and oh God, it tasted like rotten sea. It was horrible. And everybody in that whole room had done it. And everybody in the whole room knew what was coming. And that person sitting there saying, everybody's laughing at them. And they're like, oh my God. But they didn't care. They were so proud that they got employee status. They were like, I made it. And they did it. And they started laughing and cut up. And now everybody's done it. And they're part of the tribe.
How to get sued by Lee Goff.
Yeah, I know, right. Actually, ironically, this stuff was actually really good for you. It's really super healthy. It's called a superfood, so there's no way would get sued. But it tastes like ass, man. I mean, oh my God, it tastes so bad. But again, when you wouldn't get sued, but it was like that stuff to this day that gives me willies thinking about it. But they knew everybody did it, and so whenever you get fun and you get like you judge people on their actions, and you really kind of make them jump through hoops and make them really feel like they earned something, and they should. By the way, they should, because coming to work for World Plus look, man, like see in case y'all missed the bulletin, this industry's going nowhere but up, buddy. I'm talking about. This damn thing is just getting started really good.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know how many people out there know what the hell the bell curve is, but trust me, this entire industry just crossed what's called the cap. Okay, and again, I'm basically what that means is that this entire industry, and I'm 100% guessing at this, so I don't have any math to back this up, mathematical formula to back this up, but I'd be willing to bet that 75 to 80% of this industry's growth is yet to come and will happen over the next 25 to 30 to 35 years.
Well, a lot of the major players haven't even adopted.
Oh, they haven't even thought about it.
Yeah, the big advertising agencies are on a decline because they're relying on print media. They're just now starting to figure out what they're going to do for digital.
Yeah, and to that point, man, this ship sailed a long time ago. Okay, so I mean, to try to get caught up now in the digital space, man, is like, whoa. I mean, that's a daunting task. I mean, that's daunting. Now, of course, they do have tens of millions of dollars. They can go out there. If somebody wants to pay me $1 million a year, I'm sure I'll go work for the guy. Trust me, I'm all about it. You know what I'm saying? But the reality is us smaller agencies like that, we are the fuel that feeds the fire. I mean, we're the gas, man. We're the gas that drives this industry. And everybody out there should be super excited about what's coming down the pipe in this industry. I mean, I'm telling you, we got explosive growth coming for the entire industry for the next 20 to 25 to 30 years. That's why I'm so fucking fired up about being able to be in the position to be able to coach a lot of you guys and girls out there, because we're about to go through the golden age. We are about to literally go through the golden age of the entire digital industry, digital marketing industry. Just, think about it. I mean, think about this. I mean, I don't know how most of you out there are pretty young, so you didn't know this, but when I was growing, I'm 44 years old. So I'm like a really old man to all of you, right? So long story short is there wasn't fucking anything called digital. The fucking term didn't exist. Literally until about 15, 16 years ago, they had websites before that, but there was no such thing as digital marketing. And I'm talking about specifically digital marketing. It didn't even exist. It didn't exist. The term literally did not exist. Okay. I remember there was a battle for what was it going to be called? Internet marketing, web marketing, and digital marketing. Yeah, I don't know. Have you been around long enough, boss, to remember that?
I remember
This is,
digital marketing.
huh? What's that?
Digital marketing, yeah.
Yeah, well, no. I mean, like, in other words, people weren't sure what the hell the industry was going to be called. Everybody called themselves a web marketing company because that's all they did was web, right?
I'm too young for that, man.
Okay, well, see, I'm not. See, I remember all this stuff, and so I was a web marketing company for a long time because that's all that was fucking around, dude. There was no social media.
Makes sense. Yeah, when Facebook, I got into Facebook when I was in college, when it was only available to colleges.
Yeah.
So like 2005, I think, around there.
It was 10 years ago. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of changes just since then, and back then it wasn't what it is now, you know. So.
Oh my God, dude! A quarter of the fucking world, a quarter of the entire globe is on Facebook. And whenever you got on it, it was probably a few 100,000 people, just college kids, basically, right? So it's a totally different ballgame. And man, there was no such thing at Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. None of that stuff existed. None of it existed. So Periscope, all of that stuff, and it's all just getting started. It's all very much just getting started. It's very much getting into the heyday. So. All right, well, I think that about wraps it up, and I hope you got that skill assessment thing out there to give everybody.
I'll do a quick recap for the people that maybe not be hiring, COs or VPs or anything like that, just to kind of bring it to reality for some people that maybe just be hiring a virtual assistant, right?
So, well, no, this process is not intended to hire like high-level individuals. This is intended to hire.
I'm going to simplify it because it's super important. One of the biggest things you said, and it's the biggest thing that I took away from the very beginning, was try not to hire people with bad habits. So one of the things for my other businesses was I would hire people that I thought had experience, and I would find out when it was too late that they just fucked everything up, right? So,
because they come with bad habits. Big deal, yeah.
So back-end preparation, get those job descriptions right? Like I always shortcutted that, and this time around when I did it correctly, clear compensation, make it sound sexier than the actual work is, because you do have to do that. Right, that's why they started calling them a customer service specialist instead of like right. So keep that in mind. Talent scouting. There's so many different tools out there. If you're hiring VAs, in the Philippines, there's onlinejobs.ph, Indeed.com if you're looking to hire in the States, ZipRecruiter. There's so many different things you can go to post up jobs. Screening, biggest thing. Screening. You want to get a ton of candidates. Have some type of filtration process to give you doesn't have to be extravagant. Simple use case that I did. I made a Google form and I wrote out a bunch of questions. So a bunch of people applied and I sent out that question to everybody and like 6 of them responded back with answers. Right. So those things will shortcut that time. And then you take those extra processes, have the preliminary interview, give them a skills assessment. If you have one, build one out with the tools that Lee shared with you. And then jump on a face-to-face call in person, or if they're remote, then do some type of Zoom or whatever type of meeting, and then send them an offer with some type of intern status.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And you know what? The job offer, we actually have an entire template around that, entire process around that. Again, I keep coming back to it, but as the agency blueprint is so we're gonna we're gonna have over.
Your offer, you do make them sign something, right? That they accept.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Here, I'll tell you what. Here, watch this. I'll show you. Here, here. Let me share my screen. We'll do one more thing here, real quick. Okay, and so here's the offer letter right here. And so it's kind of applicant name right here. It's kind of a fill in the blank detail about candidate and all these different things. And then they get down here and they actually have to sign it right here, company representative, applicant, and all these different things here. So, but yeah, and again, go out there and get an offer letter. And this is your hourly rate will be for the first 90 days, blah blah blah. And it's all about it outlines the intern status period and just all that kind of fun stuff. So.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, let's cut it off there. Lee, thanks for sharing. I'm going to put it in the messenger bot, that link again. I'm going to repost this video sometime tomorrow too. I do have it shared out to the group and everything. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. Lee, thanks for the information, and we'll see you next week.
All right, cool. Everybody have a great week.